Alhaji Haruna Mamali. For the husband will be here. Representative of ACT is also the chair of affairs, service, available, medics of the common staff. It's a
Kadaf 2.0, that is the second edition in the series, with the theme hybridization, exploring urban development strategies in Kaduna. A two-day event that is commencing today, Wednesday 23rd, and ending tomorrow, 24th October 2024. The event is taking place at the Umaru Musa Adwa Hall, Murtala Square, Kaduna. To the greater glory of God Almighty, I declare this session open. Thank you very much.
Last year, we successfully launched Kadaf 1.0 with the theme Cityscape, a new vision for architects in Kaduna. This year, we are considering or furthering our discourse with the theme hybridization, exploring urban development strategies in Kaduna. This theme is timely because as architects, with other allied professionals, there is need for us to advocate the development of both rural and urban areas. We must address rural to urban migration, inadequate infrastructure in rural areas, and environmental sustainability. Our goal is to foster collaboration among all the allied professionals and the government who are the policy makers. We want to use this platform to ensure that we discuss issues that will promote growth and prosperity in Kaduna State. Thank you for your participation. Thank you for your patience in this program today. I look forward to a fruitful deliberation and meaningful outcomes. Congratulations for coming. I know by the time we finish with Kadaf 2.0, we'll be taking Kaduna to a new level. Thank you very much.
Correction taking. I found out that I saw some other, just recognize that some female names were pronounced right, and I'm very, very happy. Maybe when I come in the next world, my first daughter will be an architect. I pray. Thank you very much. I hope you are enjoying yourselves. Students, I hope you too are taking notes and getting your questions ready. Moving along now, we want to take a pause right now and take a goodwill message. And the goodwill message is coming from the royal father of the day, the Emir of Zazzau, Malam Ahmed Nuhu Mamadi, CFR. And today he is being represented on this occasion by our royal father who has been with us since we started. In fact, he came before almost everyone here, and we acknowledge that. Alhaji Haruna Mamadi, the Hakim Masawa.
Members of the high table, very good morning to you. Assalamu alaikum. His Royal Highness, Emir of Zazzau, got this message and wish to be here, but due to some exigencies, he's unable to be here. He has asked me to represent him at this occasion. He has asked me to wish you well in the deliberations. However, he has asked me also not to forget to thank the Nigerian Institute of Architects for the role they played in the collapsed mosque of Zaria. The Nigerian Institute of Architects Kaduna chapter has been part of the redesign of the mosque, and from the inception, the assessment of the collapse. I was asking to say a very big thank you, and especially the former Vice President who has led the delegation in the exercise. I was asking to say a very big thank you and best regards. And secondly, I don't know whether I'll be here at this podium again, but I want to use this opportunity as an architect also, call on all stakeholders. Look at our colleagues who are in civil service. I have been in the civil service throughout my career as architect. I retired in 2020. What I have seen there, what I presented here, there has been neglect, I don't know how to call it, of the architects in civil service compared to their other colleagues in other environmental design professions. I want to call on all stakeholders put heads together. Especially I was happy when the last speaker mentioned the engagement between the president and the head of service. I hope this issue will be discussed. They are suffering due to lack of enabling cyclists to get promoted in their career, just like other professions. I hope this will be taken into consideration, and all things necessary will be done to pave way in their career progression. Because usually it stagnates, while the other professions are being promoted as against the architects. So I hope that this issue will be taken into consideration and all things will be done. There's the head of service for an enabling circular for them to get promoted also. At this junction, I would like to say congratulations for holding this session, and I wish you God guidance and all the deliberations. Thank you so much.
The Nigerian Institute of Architects, Kaduna State Chapter, for celebrating the memory of Architect Gabriel Yakubu Adeku. It will indeed inspire the future generation to uphold the value of excellence and dedication. Thank you for your thoughtfulness and gesture. I'll just read the tribute. I have something written down here. Architect Gabriel Yakubu Adeku fondly called GY in the office by his partner, the late architect Omotosho, architect Agama, architect M.A. Pawuraja, Miss Waditi, and the staff in the office, was a man of profound impact, a multifaceted achiever, and a passionate professional. He was not only dedicated to architecture, but also a politician, an elder statesman, a devoted husband, exemplary father, and above all, a lover of God. Architect Gabriel Yakubu Adeku was a distinguished figure whose legacy in the architectural profession particularly within the Nigerian School of Architects, NIE, and the Kaduna State chapter are indelible. As one of the pioneering members of the Nigerian School of Architects Kaduna State chapter and its second chairman, Architecture's influence was felt not only through his leadership but through his unwavering dedication to the growth of the chapter. Architecture contributed extended beyond his tenure as chairman. He later ascended to become the president of both the Nigerian School of Architects and the Architect Registration Council of Nigeria, ACON. His willingness to allow the NIA Kaduna State chapter emphasizes his deep commitment to fostering the profession's development. He was always ready to associate with the chapter's activity. Architect embodied a spirit of selflessness and a passionate professional, which endeared him to his colleagues. Architect Gabriel was a lover of peace. He was often willing to compromise for the greater good, ensuring that his partners in ACON and the office would thrive in harmony. This trait of peacemaking, coupled with his determination to see architecture flourish in Nigeria, guided his foray into politics. Architecture sought to create opportunities and jobs for architects, believing that the profession had much to offer in the development of the nation. Even in his old age, Architect remained deeply committed to his firm, continuously seeking new commissions and innovative ways to create jobs. His visionary thinking and approach extended to the idea that Nigeria could thrive by harnessing the potentials of the rivers Niger and Benue, seeing immense opportunity for architects in the tourism sector. In fact, that led him to even conceptualize the design of an iconic dome covering a 5-kilometer radius to be built with locally sourced material at the confluence of the two rivers, and transformative projects along the rivers that will facilitate modernization and economic development. On his 80th birthday, during our conversation, he suggested we meet the Minister of Housing. Unfortunately, he's not here this morning, to present some of his proposals when he returns to the country. Unfortunately, death claimed him before he could return. At Yakubu, guiding principle was build and do not destroy, encapsulated in his lifelong commitment to creating lasting value through architecture. His legacy is one of leadership, selflessness, and an unwavering dedication to his profession and the people in it. His contribution to NIA and ACON and the architectural landscape of Nigeria will continue to inspire future generations of architects, ensuring that his influence endures for years to come. May his soul rest in peace. I want to thank you all. We also want to remember all our heroes in the chapter here who are also gone before us. We remember people like the first chairman of the chapter, late Architect Bileu. We remember Architect Umar Kubau, late. We remember Architect Aliu Arab, who is also late. We remember Architect Nuhu Mewada. In fact, when we were planning for the 50th anniversary of the chapter, he gave us the office to use, and he was indeed the chairman of that occasion, but he passed on before he took the 50th anniversary. Also want to remember Architect Jafaru Said. I was vice chair under him. We remember other members like Architect Thomas Adekunle, who was one-time secretary, and also the student affairs at the national level. We remember Architect Isa, who was the PRO and the treasurer of the chapter. We call him Double Current. We also remember Nikita Goje. For those of you who visit Kasuta in those days, I believe you know him, Nikita Goje. We also want to remember those in the academia, Professor Ekundayo Adeyemi, also a founder of Afcon Nigeria Limited, and has trained a lot of people here. We also want to remember Professor Sholanke Onkushu, who was also a member at one time of the chapter. We remember Professor Karim. We remember Dr. M.P. Ahmed, and others I can't remember at this moment. This guy just be on your feet for a moment. We just take a minute to just remember all this. May their souls rest in perfect peace. Amen. Thank you very much. Thank you.
First thing that we all miss him terribly. He was very, very, very interested in every aspect of life, whatever profession he was. But the thing is, at home, all of us thought we were architects because we knew all the principles, we knew all his buildings, we knew everything. Now, today's program about affordable housing urbanization, I remember in the late 70s, 80s, we tried to get equipment that would use laterite without any admixtures to get cheap, affordable houses. And he went ahead to get the equipment, but somehow he couldn't pull it through at that time. But later on, urban shelter does something like that in Abuja, but still expensive. So I think we're going in the right direction, how we can reduce prices of houses. That's what we really like. So I thank the Nigerian School of Architects Government Chapter for doing us this honor. My mother would have come because she was always with him, and she was almost an architect herself. But she is out of the country. She expresses her deep appreciation to the NIA. We're about to start, so I'm not going to waste anybody's time, but in trying to inspire the future generation, like I saw on the program, we took it upon ourselves that a book that was written about him in 1993, Beyond Simple Lines, the Architecture of Gabriel Akwanacho. I'm giving 10 copies to the NIA chapter here, just to put in the library, so that people can read them. And so I thank you all very much for this occasion, and continue to pray for all the departed souls, and wish all their families well. Thank you very much.
Abdullahi Abubakar, who is a seasoned and well-traveled professor of architecture, fellow of the Nigeria Institute of Architects. He obtained all his architectural degrees up to his PhD from the prestigious Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria. In a display of academic prowess, Professor Abubakar has obtained the following additional degrees. Master of Engineering from Bayero University, Kano, Advanced Diploma in Law from Aminu School of Islamic and Legal Studies, Kano, MBA from Bayero University, Kano, Master of Business and Commercial Law from Bayero University, Kano, Postgraduate Diploma in Communicative English. By the time he takes over the microphone, you will understand and appreciate this particular degree. As a seasoned administrator, Professor Abubakar has held the following key leadership positions among many. Acting Head of Department, Department of Architecture, Faculty of Environmental Science, Kano University of Science and Technology, Udil. Acting Dean, Faculty of Environmental Science, Kano University of Science and Technology, Udil. Director of Works, Federal College of Education, Kano. Senior Lecturer, Architecture Program, School of Environmental Technology, ATBU Bauchi. Head of Department of Architecture, Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria. Chairman, University Project Monitoring Committee, ABU Zaria. Overseeing Director, Fiscal Planning and Municipal Service Department, Ahmadu Bello University area. Dean, Faculty of Environmental Science, Environmental Design and Story, Department of Architecture, Ahmadu Bello University area. Professor Abubakar has further scored a number of professional milestones unrivaled by many. His many professional affiliations include the following. He is a fellow of the Nigerian Institute of Architects. He is a fellow of the Nigerian Institute of Management, member of Association of Architecture Educators in Nigeria, member Association of Collegiate Schools of Architecture USA, Associate Member, European Association of Architectural Education, Associate Member, American Copy Editors Society, the Society of Editing. Professor Abubakar has been actively involved in affairs of the Nigerian Institute of Architects and affiliate bodies, distinguishing himself as an outstanding leader of the following capacities, to mention a few. Chairman, Board of Architectural Education, Nigeria Institute of Architects, 2024 to date. Editor-in-Chief and Chairman, Editorial Board, Archist, Journal of Association of Architectural Education in Nigeria, 2018 to date. He's a council member, Association of Architectural Educators in Nigeria, 2018 to date. Professor Abubakar is truly an erudite scholar with a global stage. In his pursuit for architectural and professional excellence, he is well-traveled within Nigeria and globally, having traveled to the following. 1, at least 4 African countries, at least 6 countries and cities in the Middle East, at least 36 countries and cities in Europe, 8 cities in America, and indeed this is a record to beat. But Professor,
I had a lot of trust in my mind. And the first one says, call the organizers and ask them, which direction do you want me to follow? Because it's multi-dimensional. In fact, in my mind, I said, if somebody is smart enough, he will pick this as his PhD thesis. But again, I also want to make a confession to say that this is the only time I have given this topic a very critical look. All along, probably I think what I've been doing is a very shallow overview of it. And I believe we've not been doing justice this, and that is why I'm congratulating the organizers of this event for finding it apt to refocus and have a think and reflection on the subject matter. Permit me also, before I continue, we pay the tribute to architect that is Gabriel Aduku, and to also tell you my encounter with him during the course of my research. I went to his office, I met him, and as we were about to start the conversation, he asked me, "Are you licensed?" I said, "Not yet." He said, "You see, young man, don't complete this PhD without being licensed, because it's a great problem for you." And actually that became a driving force. I ensured that I did that before having a PhD. So we thank God for the life well spent. Please kindly extend our also heartfelt condolences to the family once again. Now, I want to take this opportunity also because through that is cultural fusion, blending rural traditional architecture with urban design element is all the concepts there, they're not new to us. They're not new. So we are not here to talk about something alien that we're not
we don't know. All of us have good understanding of it. But however, for the purpose of this exercise, I will quickly ask a few questions, one or two. The first I'm going to ask somebody from Gen Z, the students, because the hype now is sustainability. So it means that they have to carry on the baton. The second question I would ask the chairman to help us out, because we need, before we start, to say, okay, this is the focus. And with that focus in mind, I prepare the slide in such a way that we can navigate it through the focus that we're going to have for this exercise. So, for the purpose of sustaining this, ensuring that the future generation of architects continue to carry this baton, I would love any of the students, a volunteer, to tell me by the time we look at this topic, what comes in his or her mind. Any volunteer, please feel free. Students. Yes, please.
The first thing that came to my mind when I saw the topic was more than 3 on the side with car codes and overhead bridges, which is more than 3 by the side of the tar road and the overhead bridge. That's a good one.
When this topic was conceptualized, is that let us not enter Nigerian cities or even our rural areas and still be thinking we're in Europe or America. Let our cities reflect our traditions. Let our cities reflect our culture. Let our cities represent our people, not others. Let architecture, whether rural or urban, even as we manage it should be such that it reflects us as Nigerians, as Africans. That was what we are thinking.
Thank you very much. Then you have done.
Discuss this issue briefly using this outline. The first issue we're going to look at, just give an overview, then the next is try to understand the concept of urban traditional, that rural traditional architecture. Then we'll try to briefly explain the urban design elements, and then quickly look at the fusion, that is how do we blend them together, what do we need to consider if we really want to have that. And then we're going to look at some notable examples. Then we're going to look also at the barriers and challenges that certainly we're going to, because we need not to be complacent that there are issues in trying to do that. And then finally, we conclude. So let's have the next slide, please. Now, the overview, in the sense that you will agree with me that modern architecture, in particular Le Corbusier, when you talk about urban cities, is a total, Le Corbusier is in total, that is attuned to just modern cities, clean cities, devoid of any tradition. Le Corbusier for us. But don't forget, before there, the art and craft was there, the art nouveau, you know, before then before modern architecture, isn't it? And Le Corbusier championed that some of his cities, we know that they have not come to life, and in fact, people are happy that these cities didn't come to life because it's a total neglect to tradition. But we also have to remember quickly, Robert Venturi was smaller, isn't it? And then
what we are now talking about, we don't forget also the regionalism. That trying to say, okay, yes, because since Robert Venturi used to speak to us about, okay, this land, basically that's what Venturi did. This blend. Now, after that, we have a kind of a hype, just like we have sustainability now. Regionalism then was the hype. Regionalism. And then suddenly we move to high tech. Then science city, where there is Hadith, fluid forms, and so on and so forth. But somehow, with the fact that we have an understanding that, said by the urban sprawl, that very soon we are going to, the cities certainly, most of the population will now, at least by sometime 2050, that cities will take over instead of now rural areas with just migration, because cities now will become the main centers. And before now, there were architects over, just like what the Kadaf 2.0 is doing, Kadaf 2.0 is doing, to say that no, we don't have to, and all across the globe, America, Europe, Asia, Africa, we're going to look at some notable examples. So the point I'm trying to make here is that to understand that what we're trying to do is to have a reflection, is to have a refocus, to say that we're not being, that we have this thought has been there before, but somehow along the line we move out of it, and then especially now with the technology, especially now with the Gen Z, because all you look at the passion is that just you look at any design anywhere, all you need to do is a copycat. Just transplant, take it somewhere and then plant it. That's why you see the cities just like what you rightly mentioned. So now we're going to the question is, how do we do that? But we have to briefly look at what do we even when we're talking about rural traditional architecture. Why not traditional architecture? Of course I know the argument, because you could say that when you just leave it like that, we will end up assuming the adulterated traditional architecture. But that rural, so that we can get to, because the real traditional architecture is rural. Definitely. Because the starting point, let's get to the concept of rural traditional architecture, please. So since it's clear to us why we're here, we understand that it's not new. We have looked at the trend from history to this point. And now what we're trying to do is that to say, okay, remind ourselves of what we already know. Remind ourselves that on this blending we're talking about, that is not also new. We know that this is how to go about it. And then say that we are not in it alone. This outcry has been all over. Others have started it and they have projects to showcase for it. Then we know we have some challenges in what we go about it. Now, we understand that, of course, when we're talking about rural traditional architecture, basically I think we're dealing with the building styles and the design, because in the sense that the number one is functional, number two is functional in the sense that it serves its purpose, the purpose for which it has been built for. Secondly, it also employs the local materials. So the issue of sustainability is by default is there. You don't need to. And the fact that it celebrates communal spaces, social spaces. So you don't need to, the issue of traveling from one end to the other, and then the issue of, in fact, in the villages, you know, as it is today, people do a lot of walking. Now we are trying to bring it to cities. We are trying to copy from even the bicycles that are using in Europe, they are trying to emulate the traditional architecture. So what that means is that, yes, we know the first one, that issue of function, issue of design style, it goes in with the need of the people. It talks about their lifestyle, and then it's humane. I think that's the last word I'm going to use for it. It's humane, because it takes cognizance of man. Man is at the centerpiece of traditional architecture. And then issue of environment, that also has been taken care of by default, because these are less processed materials in terms of carbon emission and so on and so on. And even when you talk about, we remember in those olden days you have the design with climate algae. Traditional architecture by default is passive design, is energy efficient, and on like that, which is what we are trying to talk about today. So it's clear that, which I've just said, it has this, the cultural significance is also another key thing, because whatever they are doing, that's why the uniqueness, and that's why what Chairman says, we want to have something we can say is our own. In other words, issue of identity, issue of place, which is very fundamental to architecture. Next slide, please. Yeah, of course, these features, you already know them. Beach roof, flat roof, wood, clay, and whatever in terms of materials. Next slide, please. Now, let's quickly look at what are the characteristics. The first one, along the line, I now want to just to put it in chronological order. Yes, next slide, local material. Traditional architecture basically employ local material that is within the environment. Next slide, please. Cultural reflection. That's why I say it's humane. Next. Sustainability by default, because since the environment. Next. Adaptability. You don't need to talk about that. We talk about, when you talk about rain harvest and whatever, that we know. Next. Community purpose. That's why you are. This is key. Because by design, man is a social being. So whatever you're going to do to man, if you end up making him to be standing as a loner in seclusion, which basically some of the designs we're having for cities, that's what even the estates we now have in Abuja doesn't take care of this. And that's why we're having problems. Next. That is why I did for this. Is it like, I don't know if some of us have read about, I will see the building design by I will see, not the building economics. There is a book also that when you're talking about aesthetics, he said that any element you put onto the building that you cannot, even for aesthetic purpose, that you cannot be able to say it had any, identify as having any function, then that element, as far as he is concerned, shouldn't be there. Because, and that's what we look at, each and every element in rural traditional architecture has a function. Next. Of course, we don't need to do it. Critical. That's why we're here. We want to have our heritage, our root, where we come from. We don't want to miss that. Next. Sustainability. Now, because they are saying that, okay, do that, yes, it's sustainable. When we go there, we can be able to be innovative about it, then it's sustainable. Next. And I believe some, like the, is it Eco Resort, is it Oloki Meiji, something like that. That has started benefiting from this. Now, having looked at all this, next, now we say that we understand what rural traditional architecture is, or just a refresher, an overview of what it is. And why is it important? Of course, already we have now been able to say issue of heritage, issue of tourism, economic factor, and other sustainability, and on like that. So there's no question to say that we have established a case that there is need to build, to connect the traditional architecture, if you like, to put in quotes, the past with the present towards the future. Next, of course. Now, this concept, I would want us, especially as architects, to really appreciate this urban design and urban design elements. And I must tell you that urban design as an area of specialization. This urban design, we have the town planners, urban and regional planners. We have architecture. The macro architecture is urban design. The micro architecture is what we used to call architecture. So, which means, and I had an experience in Spain. Most schools now in Spain combines planning and architecture, 1 degree. So you qualify as an architect because urban design issues now have been cleared. In fact, this issue you are talking about, and that's why the Nigerian Institute of Architects, when we get to the issue of what to do, definitely have to take a lead here because the school system has to see what we need to do something there. Because urban design is the macro architecture. Because the planner, which now comes in with the planning aspect, in all this with the data, analyze the data, and be able to do issue of land use, issue of zoning, and on and on. By the time you are through with that, we get to see that, next slide please, that issue of what do you do with the streets and pathways? What do you do with the public spaces? What do you do that's the building point in terms of forms? You know, the massing. How do you go about it? And then the land use also, how do you enhance it? This aspect is being designed by the macro architect, who is the urban designer. And just like you approach architecture in terms of function, structural stability, and aesthetics, that's how the macro architect, who is the urban designer, also handles urban design issues. So it means that we have to be we have to take issue of streets, sidewalks, pathways, as the schools of architecture have to give that very level of significance. I observed that University of Antwerp, when they do the final year project in the exhibition, you realize that they have the macro project, and then they have the macro project goes by the teams, while the micro project goes by the individuals, not like we do here. So, and this is clear to us that when we're dealing with the elements, that issue of course, utilities and infrastructure and on like that. Next slide, please. The green landscape, transportation system, the architectural style alone, and on matters as far as the urban design and then concern. So, which means how does this relate to architecture? It means that we have to, an architect needs to be looking both at the macro and the micro. The design should not only, and that's why this is so apt, that we have to engage with the planners. We're going there because, take for instance, when you talk about the building code, interestingly, this time around I tried to look at the building code closely, and I realized that technically the building code, the celebrated National Building Code did not critically give emphasis on urban design. The main issue is on the micro. And that is why you can see that still. And one of the purposes of having the National Building Code was that the lack of planning of our cities. But again, that has been missed. effective planning or design of our cities, it means that if you don't look at the urban design, then you were going to have problem. Next slide, please. I've talked about all this. Of course, as we know that we need urban design, just like we need architecture. And basically, of course, we know when we're talking about design, we're talking about problem-solving process. Design, what design does for us is that to take off from an undesired state to a desired state. And what the architect does is what use design as a bridge, as a problem-solving process to give us that design. And that is why we're talking about the blending. In other words, building walls. The wall of rural traditional architecture and that of urban design. So it's clear to us that if we have to do that, we have to bring the two into play. That is rural traditional architecture with urban design element to be in harmony. Then there are some considerations. And these considerations, what are they? Let's quickly look at them. Remember, I said to you, I'm not going to tell you new things, but I'm going to remind us of what those things we know. Cultural context. It means that if really we want to do that, we have to start with understanding of the cultural heritage. There has to be a series of studies, pre-designed studies, both at the micro and at the macro level. And interestingly, when I talk about this cultural content, at least even at the micro level, understanding in terms of your programming, understanding the user, which is very critical. And at times, I'm sorry to say, some also behave like the average Nigerian medical doctor. Sit down in his front, before you know it, he has already finished his prescription for you. So, when you just say, I need to clean the room house, we're so impatient. I need to clean the room house, just jump, and then the next thing you bring in draw designs to clean the room. Clap the client. Ask questions. In fact, I used to even advise you and say, if you are forming your practice, ensure that you have a lady, especially in this part of the world. Because the lady will now meet the wife, or the wife of the client. Her needs. He will think he knows he needs it. So if you have a lady architect, she can clearly go into the house because of the cultural, we're talking about fusion here. You have to understand that. You have to understand her, go and interact with her, understand her needs, and then bring it down now and that we have to do both at the micro and the macro level. Somebody will tell you that even the government, you make a proposal, I say, no. This is too traditional. Regulatory restraint. Like I said to you, even the building code don't have that. Sustainability concern, of course, if we don't, the researchers will not go into be aggressive about our researches and whatever. How will we get the plan? And so there will be sustainable concern if we don't invest a lot of funds in research. Aesthetic discrepancy, if you don't do it very well, if you are not innovative, if you are not patient, you will not get. Next, yes, infrastructure limitation, we know that some of these facilities are, but again, that's where innovation comes. Economic factors, community engagement, maintenance and liquidity, all these have issues to do with that. Yes, there's no doubt that when it comes to issue of cultural fusion, issue of the blend between the need to have that cultural fusion, we are not in doubt that we have an issue about it. But where the issue comes in, next slide, is that ultimately this exploration raises
for a better question. Can the blending of rural, traditional, and contemporary architectural paradigm by Nigerian architects create spaces that honor our cultural heritage while embracing the future? And I think this today and tomorrow, whatever we do within here and outside here, this is a question I think we need to put and to continue to resonate with our work.
So I'm sure you use the mic, you know the way you architects talk.
Mr. President, or Madam President, so to say, you presented by our first Vice President, our chapter chair, and chief host of this event, Architect Stephen Filia, not spiritual and temporal here present, my distinguished colleagues. Let me also lean with the remaining protocols that have been established here this morning. And with my first vice permission, I would like to first, Baba was someone that I was very close to, you know, and by virtue of my position as the Honorary General Secretary, I had quite a lot of interactions with him on a number of issues related to the NIA, and oftentimes also my own personal life as well. So he was someone that I eventually became very close to, not just as a senior colleague in the profession, but someone that I became close to as a father. And I'm sure he was a father to a lot of us here. This award I have been asked to present to you, the award says the NIA Kaduna Chapter Plaque of Inspirations Award. With the deepest appreciation, we hereby present Architect Chief Gabriel Yakubu Adoku, OON, FNIA, PPNIA, PP ACON, an exemplary pioneer whose contributions and dedications to the architecture profession has left an enduring legacy in Nigeria. Will remain an inspiration for generations. Thank you. October 2024. I am particularly honored to be presenting this award to you from the Honorary General Secretary, someone that I consider as a brother as well. So received this award from the NIA Kaduna State Chapter, and indeed from the NIA, with all our hearts and with all our sense of appreciation, and the fact that we will continue to remember Baba going forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and thank you so much. And it's a thing of joy to know that our dad is always on your mind. I know he walked and walked and walked at the lecture and other things he did. You can also see from here that they are not my mates, they are Baba's people. They're my father's friends and colleagues and relatives. I have Alhaji Mustafa right beside me while I'm saying the name. Dr. Alifia, who is my father's age but doesn't look it. Alhaji Ahmed Ashwa, my friend. Felix, who has always been with my dad. Mr. Ogu, and Mohammed Mustafa, my own classmate. I thank you all very much for this day. We are really, really deeply honored. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Of the family of GY Adeku, as was popularly known, some of us are showing up here. For what you are doing in his memory today. Some wanted to travel, but we had to tell them to stop because the lady is already away. How can everybody be away? And that is why some of us made up our mind that we must come and stay with you for what you are doing for our great friend. Well, GY was my own age mate, and we've known ourselves in the primary school days. This is a guy that is a utility human being
There is nothing has not done for the land and for humanity. We cannot stand here and chronicle what GY did in his lifetime. But we would like to tell you that he lives on, even though he's dead. Because most of the legacies he left behind, especially in Kogi State and for northern Nigeria, they will continue to grow. Especially the idea of the River Niger and River Benue and what will be done to them. He was a man of ideas. But those who hold political power never gave him any inch. He was a dominant figure in the Institute of Architects. He held all the offices that were there to be held. But when he ventured into the socio-political field, his path was always strewn with thorns. I am saying this because I'm a friend of him, we're very close from childhood. And we never understood why. But we are beginning to forget everything because they are the glorious burial, which nobody has ever had in our land. And we are yet to have something like that. But then, what was the problem? Somebody who has been in the society from the Second Republic of Shehu Shagari, NPND, a founding member of PDP, and even National Republican Convention as chairman, but to try to enter, to share ideas. That idea was always denied, and some of us regret that. In any case, we are grateful to God. Our own prayer is that the spirit, like Julius Caesar, should not prevail against those whose ideas were at variance with his own while he was alive. And we continue to pray that his soul rests in the bosom of his Creator until we meet to part no more. Thank you.
He's an architect's architect. He has always enjoyed architecture. He loved it from beginning to end. Now this, I also thank the NIA Kaduna chapter and NIA in general for putting him in their minds to hold this program. While he was alive, he always wanted an affordable and cheap way of housing for people. Now this project today, this lecture today, was talking about combining urban and rural strategies, development strategies, which is apt because that's what he always wanted to do. Like I mentioned earlier, the equipment he brought in to do laterite bricks, you can call it mud blocks, but they're laterite bricks. And with the right laterite, you don't need to add anything. And once you get it right, the houses will be dead cheap. That's what he always wanted. So I'm happy that this is coming up today. I'm sure they'll continue to research more into it.
So with this development, how do you see the future of agriculture, future of architecture in this country?
It's just starting because, like they said, prices of things are hitting the roof. Cement, everything is out of the roof. But with combining, like I said, traditional and cultural architecture in their designs, the buildings can come out affordable. So, of course, the future is if it's only yet to start for architecture, because there's a lot to do. So there's a long way to go, and there's a lot of opportunities.
Any advice or message to architects, professional architects?
Okay, well, my dad believed in excellence and believed in hard work. So I think that's what I would continue to push to them, that they continue to excel in their pursuits of architecture.
Okay, he has been a leader in northern Nigeria,
Yes.
and a political leader. How will you expect the younger generation to emulate his leadership style?
Okay, his leadership style was simple. Everybody was equal. And then in politics, he thought it was better to carry everybody along. I mean, growing up in the house, the door was always open. Anybody will walk in. And you sit down, you don't need an appointment, you don't need that. But once people feel you are with them, whether you're a rich man, whatever, people tend to gravitate towards you, and it will actually expand your leadership style, because that's what we need. leaders should be approachable. That's what he did. He was approachable, you know.
Can you speak Hausa?
That has been here for only a short while, but not really. But I will not bore you with a lot of theory. I will actually, because of my limited time, be very practical about how we as architects here now in Kaduna can harness this technology for our practices, for our design process, our visualization and presentation. Thank you very much. Now, while I do this, I'd like to ask Architect Steeman of Ashton to please join me on stage. Thank you very much. Can you please appreciate him as he comes up? Thank you. Okay. So without further ado, I want to run through my slides. And while I do that, I will have Architect Steeman excuse it now. Thank you very much. So can we go with my slides, please? Now, we are used to, as architects, models and three-dimensional renderings as means of communicating our design ideas. Now, as effective as these are, they cannot give both us and our intended clients a human-scale experience of our design. The point is, whenever you use a space, all spaces, as we know as architects, are designed to human scale. And the best experience would be that you would have an impression of the design that is proposed at human scale before it exists. The opportunities that provides are vast. I'll just go through a small list of them. First, during design, whether at early or advanced stages, we can iterate by foreseeing problems when we can visualize at human scale. All right? Can we go to the next scale? Next. Just go. This is all theory. We don't have time. Okay, good. Thank you. Now, with design visualization, the good thing is you are actually with virtual reality blending digital information to the human environment. You can actually use digital information strictly that you have created as an architect, or you can blend that information with your existing environment. So virtual reality has three major fields or three major applications. You have virtual, you have mixed, you have augmented reality, and then you have, sorry, can you go to the next slide? Let me be sure I'm getting my list right. Please go on. Go to the next slide. Go on. I don't have time to go through all the pages in detail. Go on. Go on. Good. Please stay here. While I am making this presentation, if you have your phone on you, you can go to www.fortexconsortium.com. www.fortex is F-O-R-T with an X, consortium.com. When you go to that website, you can experience a wide range of already created VR experiences that are on that page on your phone. You can just go to the portfolio tab and pick that. It's www.fortx consortium is consortium.com. Thank you. Sorry for the long web name. All right. So please go on, sir. Now, can we go to the next slide, please? Now, the point is, if you want as an architect to create content that is based on your design, but is virtual reality compatible, I have a small workflow description here. So let me quickly describe it. Nothing is very new, really, here. So VR is actually ready for architects. It's ready to go. Because with your design, you can use your CAD software. If you can't see very clearly from there, I believe this is sharp enough. So you can draft your design with your regular AutoCAD or any given CAD software. You can model on a 3D software. Anyone works. SketchUp, 3ds Max, any
architecture educators in Nigeria. We want to felicitate with NI Kaduna chapter, which we have been actively participating. Most of our members are also actively participating in the Kaduna chapter. And I want to say that the topic that we're looking at now is a very appropriate topic in this period that we're in of Nigerian development. And we continue to partner with the Kaduna chapter and continue to move the educational aspect to ensure that everything is perfect. Congratulations, Kadaf. You continue to go from strength to strength. Thank you.
Amen. Here. Yeah, on behalf of the Plateau State chapter of the Institute, we want to facilitate with the Kaduna chapter and to tell you quickly that I am very, very excited and at the same time impressed with what I've seen here. You know, I didn't know it was going to be this massive, and this is almost looking like a national event. I thank you very much for taking the bull by the horn and not limiting yourself. And of course, the topic is very interesting, and we want to see how we are going to marry both the rural and the urban. And we trust that at the end of this event, we'll be able to provide to the government what they should look into with serious attention. So once again, congratulations, and I am very glad to be here.
I'm here to represent Director Kaduna Polytechnic, and incidentally, I am the Dean College of Environmental Studies. We are part of NIA because we train students. We have a standing history of architecture department for over 40 years. So we see this as an opportunity for us to evaluate how we perform. Because looking at some faces here, we can see some of the students we graduated. And this that our students are faring well. However, I would want to plead with NIA because technology is fast changing. And as an institution, we have multiple demands, facets of expenditures. But it is apparently becoming difficult to catch up with, especially some of the modern softwares. Other professional bodies are looking back to the departments who graduated, most of them. And I think it is time to let this across, especially that the National Secretary is here. As a body, we plead with you to always look back to those departments who graduate the students you employ, so that we will be able to train them on the modern technology you use in the practice of the profession. Otherwise, we will be graduating students that are not conversant and familiar with the technologies you apply in your private practice. So on behalf of Kaduna Polytechnic in general and environmental studies in particular, we are proud to be associated with NIA and count on our support any day, any time. Please feel free to give us the feedback on how our students are firing. We wish you a happy celebration. Thank you.
Of Nigerian Institute of Builders, like he earlier said. So my able vice president, the HGS, and the chairman of the chapter, I must commend you. This, like the previous speaker said, this is wonderful. I wonder what the national workshop will look like if you, as a state chapter, can organize something like this. Kudos to the ESCO. I must commend you. And even the organizing committee did well. Everything is quite organized. I appreciate you. So, we want to reiterate our commitment and our relationship with you as the big brother of the profession. So, we want to let you know that as a chapter of the state, Nigerian Institute of Builders, we are with you. Please carry us along in whatever we do as an activity. So it is with the national. But I want to say just a few lines on safety on construction sites. Please, as professionals, like you can see now in the headlines of our daily newspapers, building collapse every now and then. please, as professionals, let's do our best to see how we can chase out quackery in the construction staff, because they are giving us bad names. They are giving us bad names. So every site that you man, ensure safety, ensure the rules of the profession is followed, ensure that the structural designs are followed, just so that peradventure such occur, your name will not be there, because you have done the right thing. Today we celebrate our hero. We are remembering him because of the legacy that he has given. Why not write your name in the list of heroes by not participating or being a hand to the death of a life you cannot create? So on this, we say congratulations to the success of Kadaf 2.0. For we know since the 1.0 is success, we also believe that 2.0 would also be a success. Thank you very much.
He said, Wilson, where are you? I said, okay, at the office. He said, please go to Kaduna. I cannot, I've tried. Please go and represent ACON. And I was with the staff who said, so registrar, calling you this time of the night or the day shows that he wants you to be there. So while I was trying to make photocopy of the letter sent to us, my colleague said, no, go with the original, so that other chapters will know that NIA Kaduna chapter recognizes and respects ACON. And one thing we observed, not just me, all the staff in ACON recognizes one thing. I was shocked. They said the simplicity, the humility of the chapter chairman of NIA Kaduna chapter. He will write a letter and personally bring it to ACON office. He does not post it. They will personally bring it. That was what made me to say, okay, I have no excuse. I have to be here to represent ACON. I bring good witnesses from the ACON registrar, architect Mohammed Sule Itoba. Itoba is one of you. We have a past registrar who would have equally wanted to be here, but for reasons best known to God, he cannot be here. He only sent his greetings, architect Umar Monai. On behalf of the staff, I spoke with all of them this morning. Do I go? They all said I should come. So I want to appreciate Kaduna chapter for recognizing the fact that ACON is a regulatory body, for inviting us. And to the organizers, I realized that from your booklet, 22 of you were members of the LOC. That tells us there's unity. For you to have 22 people managing, I thank you all. And you can decide to have 22 LOC, and the chapter chairman says he's not interested, he frustrates you. So I thank the chapter chairman. The NIA National can say why. I thank the NIA National Presidency. I thank the NIA HGS. One of you must have said it from the chapter. Why invite ACON? For inviting ACON, I thank members of this chapter. And I observed that in this local organization, we have 6 female. I thank the female for allowing their members to be part of this program. And above all, I want to thank God, and most especially thank the founding fathers of this chapter. And my prayer is that 3.0, please invite ACON, but this time around, ensure the ACON president comes and let him sit in your front row. Thank you very much.
So perhaps there are some impostors here. I don't know.
Also forgot your own.
No, this is the way to recognize them. So I am fellow number F450. I'm a fellow from 2017. My colleagues standing before you are the members of the prestigious College of Fellows that we all aspire to belong to. I assure you, by tomorrow you will have no difficulty finding them within the crowd. Because as we have heard, with the exception of two, yes, my senior brother Kufi, yes, I know where his medal is. You won't see him wearing one tomorrow, but at the next function, you will see him wearing one. But again, apart from him, Architect Arabidalo, you will require 3 medallions. So that one will be in Lagos, one will be in Abuja, and one will be in Kaduna. And we will not take excuse from you next time. Okay, very good. Okay, apart from the medallion, actually, all members have pin lapels that signifies their class of membership. And so if you come closer, you'll be able to identify that some of the fellows are actually wearing their lapel pins. And we expect also all of you, when we meet you, we look at your lapel pin, we will identify you as a member of the institute, commensurate with your class. So to perform the toast to the College of Fellows members, I will invite the Honorary General Secretary of the Nigerian Institute of Architects, the custodian of our documents, the custodian of our secretariat, to perform this occasion. So over to you, Architect Chike Chambale. And by the way, we're happy to be classmates. So please come and give us this.
Thank you very much, my brother. Like you said, we're classmates, but it was more mysterious than me. I believe everybody's account is charged. I will make this toast to good health, more progress, and above all, more impact of the College of Fellows in our profession. We've observed over the last couple of years that there have been pressing issues that fall the very existence of our institute question. And with this toast, we hope that College of Fellows, members of the College of Fellows, starting from those here, those online, and those who are not here as well, recognize the unique role they have to play in protecting and safeguarding the ethos, the vision, and the mission of the NIA. You know, that we have all shown to protect and to serve to greater times for us all. Thank you.
It's a very timely team. We have consistently lived with the menace of rural-urban migration. It's inevitable because people go to the cities around their rural areas for better prospects, you know. And it's coming at a time where we feel that it's important we discuss it, so that we come up with strategies to reverse it. Because for me, what we need to look at is what can we do in the rural areas to ensure that our citizens don't lack and that all their dreams and aspirations are met even in the rural areas. You know, that's why we have this conference today.
Look like the organizers of this occasion being one of your chapters.
Yes.
What do you have to say?
Well, it's a thing of joy. Aside from the fact that the team this year addresses rural-urban migration and strategies to also mitigate that particular issue. The Kaduna chapter has been one of our flagship chapters over the years, for over 50 years actually, 50 years and counting. They have been at the forefront of influencing our profession and contributing to the Nigerian Institute of Architects. And to the best of my knowledge, they've produced several people, several members who have eventually become the presidents of the institute, like late architect Gabriel Yakubu Aduku was on the Kaduna chapter, architect Victor Obong Atta, former governor of Akwa Ibom State. He was of the Kaduna State chapter. You know, so you find that they have produced people who have made significant contributions to the institute, and counting. They are producing more because I'm sure more of them
will eventually rise to become president of the institute in due time.
Finally, sir, what's your goodwill message for architects in Kaduna State?
A goodwill message from the National is that we are happy to be associated with Kadaf. We're seeing it grow from strength to strength. We know how it was in the first edition last year, and we're seeing how big this is already. So we're sure that next year it will be bigger than this, and that they have our warm felicitations from the National, and that we have our full support always in all that they do, and that we pray for greater heights for Kadaf.
Okay, generally speaking, I'm sure when you're talking about architects, we are looking at them even from the starting points. We have the students here, we have the young emerging architects who have just started practice, we have the older ones, and we have, of course, the government friends and clients that we have. So we are looking at the situation whereby the synergy will have been created, whereby the society gets to understand what architecture is all about, what the people are doing, how they are striving to improve themselves, and begin to make positive impacts in bringing the society to a better outlook in this after this program of 2.0 hybridization, where the rural and urban strategies are being discussed.
On one extreme, doing a lot of fear-mongering, AI is going to replace everybody, AI is going to end everything, and so on. And then you can have another group on the other extreme who completely ignore AI and think AI is just a fad that is going to go away like many other fads that have come and gone. So that's why I'm beginning my paper with making the case for AI in architecture. And then I'm going to talk about some of the AI terms. Then we are going to explore some use cases. We are going to look at trends and so on. So let's go to the next slide quickly because, next. Okay. So I'm going to start with some statistics in trying to make the case for AI. And then let me, in researching this paper, I actually came across a report by the Royal Institute of British Architects. And they did some researches. This is not part of their data, but some of their data too can be used to actually make the case for AI. And one of the things they mentioned is that they mentioned that AI is actually necessary because of the unprecedented level of urbanization we are going to experience in the next few years. So, but let's focus on the data we have here. I have some numbers here. I have 70, 430, and 40. 70% of people that will be living in cities by 2050. 70% of all people will be living in cities. Currently in sub-Saharan Africa, they say the percentage is below 40. It's around 38%. In Nigeria, it's a bit higher than that. But in the next 20, 25 years, 70% is going to be living within cities. And the 70% we are talking about is not 70% of the current population. It's 70% of the population at that time. By 2050, the population of Nigeria is estimated to be around 430 million or so. So if you calculate 70% of that, we are talking about a figure very close to 300 million. That's more than the overall population of Nigeria now, all living within cities. Later on, we are going to discuss the implications of this. The second number there is 430. It signifies the number of, that's the population of Nigeria by 2050. So if you do the math, 70% of 430 will be something around 300 million. And then the other figure is 40 again. It represents the percentage of energy that is consumed. All energy consumed, 40% of it is consumed within buildings. It's consumed within buildings. And I'm using that as well to make a case for AI in architecture.
So let's go to the next slide. Okay, this is a graphic that shows you how the population is going to rise. The one in orange represents Nigeria, the one in blue represents the United States. So you see, from next year, that's 2025, look at how the graph is going to change. That rise signifies the rise of population. So it's going to, the rate of population growth generally is going to become much, much faster. When I was discussing this with someone before this presentation, he said something that I thought was funny. He said, from 2050, he said, the reason why the graph is changing is because the business of baby making will be taken over completely by Gen Z. And you know how Gen Z overdo whatever it is they do. So he said from 2050, most of the people having children will be Gen Z, and that's why they're going to have too many babies until we hit 400 and something million. So let's go to the next slide. This shows us the rural-urban population in Nigeria. This is from a department of the United Nations. This is their data actually. So urbanization in Nigeria is actually moving faster than in other sub-Saharan countries. In other sub-Saharan countries, as I said, it's still below 40%. But Nigeria, from this data, it shows that we have actually hit the 50% point about 2 years ago, a few years ago, 2-3 years ago. And now, at the point we are at now, the population in urban centers is higher than the population in rural areas. That's for Nigeria. Now let's go again, next. This is showing us megacities that we have. A megacity is a city that has a population of 10 million and above. Currently in Nigeria, we have just one of such cities that has 10 million and above. That's Lagos. We have 19 cities that have, we have 9 cities that have a population between 1 and 5 million. Kaduna is one of those cities. Kaduna has a population of around 2 million. The metropolis of Kaduna, the 4 local governments that make up Kaduna metropolis has about 2 million people. And then we have all the others. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, this shows the current level of urbanization around the world. So sub-Saharan Africa still has just 38% urban population. So most people still live in rural areas as compared to other regions. So, as you can see, most other regions have 80, 74, 71. So sometimes when you look at figures like this, the inference you could easily make is urbanization is inevitable. I know even the theme of this conference talks about rural what? Well, I know governments always want to curb rural-urban migration, but for me, my own personal opinion, I think it's not something you can stop. There will always be migration, and people will always leave rural areas because there are more opportunities in the urban areas. So, but that doesn't mean you should not do your. So let's go to the next slide.
A bit of what we decided to do since our 1.0 edition of mastering the business of architecture. This session somehow it gets to the tail end of our programs. And by the time we get to the tail end, it's only those that really want to be masters that stay behind. So maybe we can put our hands together for ourselves. You can see that those people that have left for one reason or the other might not get a bit of this. But I always say that we keep forgetting that there's need to train ourselves, not only as architects, but as people that want to make impact in the society.
in all our fields. We have clients here, we have students, we have colleagues, we have other professionals. It's good for us to take time off all that we do to also spend time on ourselves so that we make a better people at large. So this morning we've heard about AI. AI, to everybody, to many people now, artificial intelligence. But I've moved forward and I say that AI should be more of architectural intelligence. But when I look at both of them together, artificial intelligence, I tried adding them together, and I think we should talk about leadership intelligence. Leadership intelligence. Of what use is AI if you abuse it, you misuse it, or like someone say that, is it going to replace us? But if you are appointed intelligently and you know what it takes, how an architect, for example, I'm using AI as an architect tool now, wants to achieve with it, you make a better interpretation of AI and we'll all be better for it. So I just decided I would just look at some snippets and rush through. In the preamble, we talked about that what comes to mind is we talk about architectural intelligence. Some may think it's winning a competition. Some might think it's being famous. Some might think it's just about fame. An architect can accomplish great heights. And then someone will say, Asukoro, with a little embellishment of beauty, length, and anatomy, or plaster.
They're both very, very complimentary. Next slide, please. So I'm glad that Malam Ahmed, he spoke before me, and he actually took some of the slides I had and already talked about it. That why exactly are we doing this? Why green buildings? And I'm glad that I'm in the midst of architects. I always feel sometimes overwhelmed when I'm with architects. But the good thing is that I'm married to one, so you can't intimidate me anymore. So why do we do this? Because we believe architects are the first point when it comes to buildings. When Malam Ahmed spoke, he talked about urbanization and how quickly our cities are growing. Now, where are we going to put all those people that are coming, that are, urbanizing? It's going to be in buildings. And we really need to think about how we build, and with climate change in mind. So for the World Bank Group, climate is a huge thing now, and everything we do right now has an element of climate tied to it. So whether it's finance, whether it's grants to government, whatever it is we're doing, we will ask what's the climate angle. So for IFC, these are the 5 main areas that we work in. Clean energy when it comes to energy efficiency, solar panels and so on. Climate smart cities, green buildings, cities, green finance, and also agribusiness. I'm going to talk about the green buildings part of it because that's the area where I work. Next slide, please. And the green buildings program is made up of 3 parts. We have the EDGE itself. So you heard me talk about EDGE. Some of you have heard about the EDGE program. And if you want to know more, like I said, please join me on Friday. There is also something called the APEX. We took a lot of sacrifice. And I know we have a lot of commitments elsewhere. But because of how important this one is, I think we all decided to come here instead. We appreciate your presence. And at the beginning of the meeting, when we were brainstorming on the theme for the Kadaf 2.0, what actually informed this decision was we were looking at the migration issue. We have too many people in the urban areas doing nothing
but being a menace to the society. And we were just looking at, okay, what is actually in the city? What is bringing them to the city that they do not have there? How can we take what is in the city back to the rural area? So I believe this is a challenge to our young architects. We are talking of urbanization, but it's not happening anymore. It's not happening. Everything is being overstretched in the city. Instead of us expanding, what we have that was working has collapsed. So what do? It's to take the city back to the urban area. And another thing I observed also is when you look at the mass housing that we have, the houses that are being provided, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, those who are, who they say these houses are for, cannot afford it. And those who can afford it cannot live in 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom. So what do? This is also a challenge thrown to our students. I know I spoke with one of the brothers of Nuru Suraj. He has an estate, in fact 2 estates in Kaduna. So what do? Can you provide us a design that is workable for our low-income earners? Affordable, not that we build houses and we just leave them, uninhabited, and so on. So please, we want you to take this back, the students. See what you can do to help architecture, because we need to help architecture. The city is being overcrowded. So please, this is a challenge. Thank you very much.